What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and it's March Madness. And for March, I'm trying to get through 31 good, great, or excellent Netflix movies. And I remember this one from back in 2016. I didn't start losing my vision until 2017, so I've actually seen Spectral. I actually enjoyed this the first time through, so this is a second look at Spectral. It's my first time watching it with audio description. This movie stars James Badge Dale, Emily Mortimer, Bruce Greenwood, Max Martini, Clayne Crawford, and Stephen Root. Not necessarily the cast that you would immediately think of when you're like, are you sure you want to do this? You want to vouch for this movie? And it's like, actually, kind of, yeah. Especially considering that I don't think this movie had much of a budget. It certainly, they didn't throw much of a cast at it. And since then, Netflix has thrown hundreds of millions at bloated action movies that aren't very good. And here is Spectral, which is kind of just a sci-fi war movie, and it's pretty good. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it had a cool concept and it went for it. The way that its story is told is interesting. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not too long. Um, it doesn't feature, a lot of bad writing or bad acting or anything like that. It just kind of, it is. So if you're looking for an action movie that just is an action movie, I think this does it. So the plot of Spectral is that somewhere in the future, we're fighting a war and our troops are well armored, and but something keeps happening where soldiers keep experiencing like a what they think is a glitch, and they send in this scientist James Badge Dale, his character, to look at, and with this spectral camera try to see what it is that these soldiers are seeing in their cameras. And some soldiers are dying and they don't understand what it is, and they think maybe it's that the combatants have achieved some sort of synthetic armor, cloaking device armor, basically, that the people that they're fighting are able to be cloaked. I think what's really interesting here is that they drop in to fight this war, and supposedly they're fighting somebody, and they're fighting, quote, insurgents, but we don't actually see those insurgents. Like, they never end up fighting them. They end up fighting these spectral things basically the whole movie. So you start seeing that there are these spectral ghosts. Not really a spoiler. The movie's called Spectral. That can kind of manipulate and walk through things, but they can't walk through everything. So it becomes paying attention. You have to sort of follow the horror movie rules, right? You have to follow learn, how to survive, and what can and can't they do. What, when you're trying to survive a killer shark or something like that, you have to pay attention to where, oh, it's too big, it can't get through that hole. We have to get through that hole because then it can't get through that hole, like that kind of thing. Um, so they have to kind of pay attention to what it is that the spectrals cannot, that they react to poorly in order to win the war, so to speak. So, yeah, it's an interesting action movie. They end up sort of finding some of the locals who help them. I won't spoil that. It's been 9 years, but I still don't want to spoil Spectral for you. I want you to be able to see it. And it's, the question is how many people are gonna survive this movie. So it feels like it's a horror movie. It feels like it's a slasher movie, because these soldiers are kind of being picked off one by one, and you're not sure, if they're all going to make it or not. So, and also, can they stop these things? And what happens if these things spread or get out of the area? You get that too, which is the same sort of, problem that we have with like aliens. Anytime we do like an alien movie, it's like, well, what happens? Oh, it's here now. But what happens if we let this thing out for the rest of the planet? Then, oh no, so then it becomes about containment too, and risking their lives to contain, to keep these things from spreading and getting out of hand, because then nobody would be able to, there would be mass casualties. I think it's a pretty simple movie. It presents itself. It has a cool premise that kind of changes things. It's sort of like you're fighting ghosts. And how do you fight them? If all you have, if you're not a ghostbuster and you don't have some strange neighborhood, who you gonna call? Nobody. Uh, what, you just have bullets? What do? You just have like tanks and stuff like that. How do you fight something that your weapons are completely ineffective against? And they have to find a new way of fighting using the little bit of knowledge they gain about what these spectrals react to. And also, there's a mystery of how these things ever came to be, which gets sort of resolved in the third act of the movie. So, I think it's a decent action movie on Netflix. Just, I mean, like, compared to some of the other action movies that they throw tons of money at and put big stars in now, and rope people into things that are just like, oh, that was all right. You know, this is a movie that they threw James Badge Dale into, and it didn't even get it's not even MPAA rated, it's rated TV-14. Um, so yeah, it's basically the PG-13 equivalent for TV movies, and it's still fun. It's still fine. It still has, it feels interesting. I thought the audio description was pretty solid from everything that I remembered about the spectrals. That's the thing that you have to describe, is the spectrals. Is like, what do they look like? How do they move? Because they're essentially being attacked by ghosts. So how do you describe that? And in the scenes where they're not looking through a spectral lens, then it's everybody just sort of like waiting for something they can't see. So very interesting stuff, in the world of possibilities of the things that the audio description was able to achieve. Um, I'm not saying this is the best movie that's on Netflix, but I am saying I think Spectral is a very underrated film that's on Netflix, and therefore I decided to put it in my 31, because I don't have a review of Spectral on my channel. It does have audio description, and I think it's worth your time. So check out Spectral. I'm giving Spectral a B plus. I watched this movie 9 years ago, and 9 years later, I rewatched it again, and it was fun. Twice, I've enjoyed this movie. Do I think it's the best action movie ever? No, no, I'm not gonna say that. Do I think it's like the greatest horror action, sci-fi action? No, no. Is it one of the better ones? It's on Netflix? Yeah, it is, actually. All things considered, it is. So, yeah, before they started churning them out like on a weekly basis. Yeah, it is. So, that's it. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.